Hello everyone, today I'm going to teach you a very important and a prominent poet of English literature, which is John Keats. And John Keats is considered as the master of romantic poetry. And in this video, we are going to explore the life and the genius and the enduring legacy of one of the England's greatest poet, a voice that transformed beauty, morality, and human experience into timeless verse. And we are going to study about John Keats today. So, he was a romantic poet. Let's know a bit about his particular life itself. So, John Keats was a romantic poet born in London in 795. John Keats faced tragedy early, losing both parents by age 14. He lost his both parents by age 14, okay? And despite apprenticing as an apothecary and studying surgery, means he chose actually medicine. Okay, he trained in medicine. He was trained in medicine, but he wasn't happy. His heart wasn't satisfied. So he turned to poetry, right? His true passion laid in literature. He loved writing. Okay. In 1816, Keats abandoned medicine to pursue poetry full time, a bold decision that would change English literature forever. Because John Keats itself, we know that he's a very prominent poet in English literature, especially in the Romantic era. One more thing about John Keats is he is known as the second generation poet of that era, right? So what happened with John Keats? Early tragedy in life, okay, lost father at 8, mother at 14, both parents at 14. Experiences that deeply influenced his poetry themes of loss and transience. Means, he lost his parents really early in a manner that it shaped the way he thought. It shaped the way, he wrote, because he experienced deep loss and transience in a very early age. Then what he did is he pursued medical training, okay? Studied at Guy's Hospital, but felt drawn to the artistic world of words and imagination, okay? And then literary circle. He met Leigh Hunt and Percy Shelley, entering London's vibrant romantic literary scene. Then he published, okay, his first poetry collection in 1817, which was Endymion, if I'm not wrong, marking his emergence as a serious poet. You must have studied an excerpt from his poem Endymion, which was. It is a very prominent poem in 12th standard of CBSE syllabus, which is A Thing of Beauty is Joy Forever, which is a beautiful poem. Beautiful. So now we're going to study about his poetic genius, his greatest works, right? So Keats is a writer. What kind of writings did he wrote about, right? He was a poetic genius, his great works. So he was a romantic poet. Oh God. Yeah, sorry, a poet, right? We all know about that. So between 1818 and 1819, Keats produced an extraordinary body of work that stands among the finest in English literature. His poem explores beauty, mortality, nature, and the sublime with unprecedented sensory richness. So, what are his major works? We are going to study that later further. What kind of poetry did he wrote about? He was a romantic poet who wrote about beauty, imagination, and sensuousness. Sensuousness is to feel something by your senses. That is what sensuousness is. Negative capability in hair. Actually, John Keats itself introduced this term. This means that you are okay with uncertainty of life, and you don't really feel like, of course you do feel bad, but then you portray it in a manner that the uncertainty makes you feel okay about it, sort of, right? So that is what negative capability is, like writing something so beautifully which is very negative in a manner that uncertainty feels okay. And he was a kind of a romantic poet. He was a poet of that era, so that includes that he must, should be writing on nature and emotions, which is, of course, emotions are very prominent figures in poetry, because emotions provoke, then the heart goes towards poetry itself. So nature was a great aspect. I mean, you might actually be hearing some birds chirping beside me, and that's why, because I'm literally, when you study about John Keats, you got to sit at a place where there is so much of nature beauty, so that when you are teaching John Keats, you may actually feel his soul while teaching, sort of. So yeah, works of John Keats. Now, poetic forms. John Keats actually wrote in odes, narrative poems, and sonnets. Sonnets are 14 line poems, which are beautiful. Narrative poems and odes. Okay. Now, major work, Endymion, as I told you. Now, Ode to a Nightingale, beautiful poem in which he contemplates mortality and transcendence, contrasting human suffering with a bird's eternal song. Okay. And I'll also tell you the meaning of these above things very more nicely right now. I'll explain you with his works itself so that you may understand it better. Okay. So, Ode to a Gracious Urn explores the relationship between art, beauty, and truth through meditation on an ancient vessel frozen in time. So, in Ode to a Gracious earn, what he does is he explores the relationship between art, beauty, and truth through meditation on in ancient vessel frozen time. You got to study it just to know, just to let you know. I'm sharing a bit about his poems and works so that you may remember it more better if you know even a bit about it. So now to autumn. These are his major works which are very famous, and he's famous, he's known for these works, right? So to autumn, into autumn he has written a perfect celebration of the season's abundance, capturing ripeness and inevitable decline with sensuous imagery. Okay, these are his major works. Now let's actually go through it once again. There are some terms I want to share with you. The first term is sensory richness. I would suggest you should kindly note down the points I'm giving you, because in this PPT I've written just very, just points and bulleted points, but I'm actually trying to explain it more so that it's more easy to understand. So you got to listen really nicely and you got to make notes on it. So first term is sensory richness, which John Keats is known for. Keats filled his poetry with vivid imagery, touch, taste, sight, sound, and smell, using all of his five senses. Okay, so sensory richness in his poems, we find that his poems are very sensory rich. Okay, touch, taste, sight, sound, and smell, creating immersive experience that transport readers into the heart of each moment. Okay, so what does it do? It creates an experience that transport readers into the heart of that each moment. Okay, like it creates an imagination in your mind. When you actually hear about it, when you read about it, you feel that you're living that moment. That is what sensory richness in sort of John Kira type's way is, right? Now I was actually telling you negative capability. I would like to explain that all over again. He championed the ability to embrace uncertainty and mystery without seeking rigid answers. This is what exactly negative capability is, which was almost introduced by John Keats, in which what he did is he championed the ability to embrace uncertainty. Means life is uncertain. We know that we will die one day. What day? He was like, okay, let's not seek rigid answers. Instead, we should allow beauty and truth to coexist in ambiguity. It should be a bit mysterious. Let's let it be. Be it be. We are uncertain about certainty. Let it be. Be it be. It's still beautiful. Instead, let's enjoy the beauty. For example, if I know I'm dying tomorrow and I'm anxious about it, of course anybody would be, right? But then John Keats' way was, it's okay. Let's not find rigid answers because nobody knows actually. Let's enjoy the beauty in the moment. And truth and truth and beauty means beauty is to feel, okay, and all of that. It and the truth can also coexist in ambiguity. That's what the negative capability is. And you'll actually find that in all the works of John Keats, you will find that there is a lot of uncertainty, but there is so much of acceptance and truth. And that is what negative capability actually is. Okay, now beauty and mortality, this is very important. These are the things that I'm telling you is very prominent, okay, in John Keats work. Okay, so it is written over here. Romantic poet, I've explained. Okay, beauty, imagination, sensuousness, I've explained. Negative capability, I've explained. Nature and emotion, we can also give it the name as beauty and mortality, right? The tension between eternal beauty and human transience runs through his work, reflecting his awareness of life's brevity and art's permanence. Beautiful. Okay, so how are we going to explain nature and emotion? Through beauty and mortality. Nature is beauty, right? Emotion, mortality, immortality. It will lead to it eventually when you'll go deeper, right? So the tension between eternal beauty and human transience runs through his work, reflecting his awareness of life's brevity and art's performance. Now, we are going to study about the enduring legacy of John Keats. So, he had a very definite impact on the whole English literature. Though Keats died tragically young at just 25 from tuberculosis, his influence on poetry has proven immeasurably. Initially dismissed by critics, his work gained recognition posthumously and now stands as a cornerstone of romantic literature. So, as we know that it was a very tragic end of John Keats, that he died at 25 because of tuberculosis, which at that time had no cure, and that he was a surgeon. You see, he might actually know that he's about to die, and still what he chose is to write. He was a mortal being, but his work made him immortal. We still study him with love. John Keats, we say. 1821, a premature end. Keats died in Rome believing himself as a failure. This hurts me so much when I, teach this. This hurts me because he, the one who gave us inspiration for romanticism, for poetry, for, beloved love, for uncertainty, thought he was a failure. His epitaph reads, "Here lies one whose name was writ in water." So he thought he was a failure. Victorian reveal. Later 19th century poets like Tennyson and the pre-Raphaelites championed Keats, recognizing his genius. Now, when he died, after that, a lot of time later in 19th century, poets like Tennyson and pre-Raphaelites championed Keats, recognizing his genius. And now we also recognize John Keats is a very kind of person who's very genius, who was very genius. Keats became essential to English literature curriculum, studied worldwide for technical mastery and emotional depth, for negative capability, for terms like that, and his influence contemporarily. Modern poets continue to draw inspiration from his sensory language, philosophical depth, and commitment to beauty. Because, he wrote in such a manner. Now, you see, I've told you, like, John Keats' favorite, like, there is one poem of his, like, it is an excerpt from Endymion itself, which is a thing of beauty is joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. It itself has a very symbolic and, deep meaning that I love so much so that whenever I feel sad or something, I actually roam around in nature and I feel that that guy knew when he was dying. That guy knew that his life is about to end. That, pure anxiety in your chest. And still he romanticized nature like that. What a brave man he was, wasn't it? Now, his impact, celebrated as a major voice of romantic poetry, that's we know. His poetry continues to speak across generations, absolutely. So, other than that, John Keats also had a literary impact, okay, which influenced countless poets across generations with his innovative imagery and exploration of beauty. His themes were universal. This is extra knowledge which you should definitely write it on. If I'm telling you anything about him, whatsoever I'm saying, you should be keeping a note on that because it's very, very important. So, universal themes, his meditation on mortality, love, and art resonates across cultures and time periods. Means he wrote at 1818 his first publications and then he died in 1821. Yes, absolutely. His career was a short but immortal career, which just, it was of 3 years, but it is lasting forever. So his themes were universal because it was a theme of loss, inevitable, pressure, inevitable sadness, loneliness, beauty. His themes were very universal and very relatable. Educational cornerstone remains one of the most studied and celebrated poets in English literature programs worldwide. It is the legacy, the enduring legacy of John Keats, beautifully explained through this particular video. So I hope you've understand and known better about John Keats now. And I wish you all the best for whatsoever you're preparing. And thank you so much. And a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And this video is a thing of beauty because we have studied John Keats and we have completed his life. Through this, you can actually, make notes about it. And it's in-depth video, and with this you'll be able to write an introduction paragraph about John Keats if you're going to study any of his further poems, like in particularly if I tell you you'll if you're in first years or something semesters of English BA literature, you'll be studying his Ode to a Nightingale, which is a beautiful poem, and for that you'll have to study John Keats before, so in your answers particularly you'll have to mention a paragraph first about the writer, so you should be knowing about John Keats, and then you'll be able to connect with his mindset and why he wrote Ode to a Nightingale, and in what emotions did he write that, so you'll be more able to connect with that particular thing. And with this we come to an end to our video, and I hope that you've understood the concept and the love beyond, the love for John Keats and the love for nature beyond immortality and everything. And yeah, thank you so much. Good luck for your studies, and yes, bye.